Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the tax masterclass today. We call it Lagniappe because my friend Helena taught me that's an important thing in New Orleans. So that's how it's going to be today with a little bit of something extra. So what we will talk about today is what you don't know about your taxes can hurt you. And my name is Sorana Blackfoot. I am a prosperity mentor at Unbroke Women, and I help people have a better relationship with their money, whether that means working on their mindset or building the strategies so they can make more money and keep more of the money that they're making. And what's the recipe for financial serenity? Well, we're going to talk about creating, preserving, and transferring your wealth under the financial serenity umbrella. Because once you make your money, you want to keep your money, and most probably you want your money to go to whoever you choose when you're no longer around and not to whoever the courts choose. And I want to share one of my favorite proverbs. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. So if you haven't done this, if you say, I wish I was younger, I wish I had planned for this, okay, there's nothing you can do about that. The next best time is now. So let's do something about it, starting right now. Before we start talking about taxes, I want to check your money mindset. And here are a few questions that I would like you ladies to ask yourselves. Now, I know some of this stuff may feel funny because you're thinking money is an inanimate object, so obviously it doesn't have feelings, but I will tell you that money is energy and it vibrates. So you can attract or repel money based on your vibration, right? Think of money as a magnet. And if you are a magnet as well, how are you positioned towards money? Are you positioned in such a way that you repel it, or are you positioned in such a way that you attract it? So that's how you know how money feels about you. Now, a lot of people ask themselves, how can I make more money? So if that's your question, then we can go into a longer conversation about that. But you can also just sit down and journal. And there are ideas that will come through for you that will be for you. Okay, so just some food for thought for the rest of your day. And if anybody likes to journal, you probably appreciate a chance to journal about these interesting things, because that's not what most people journal about. So why am I excited to be here and why most people are not is because talking about taxes can be intimidating. Right? It is an uncomfortable subject, and most people don't really want to tackle it until April 15 or thereabouts, because at that point, they don't really have a choice. Or October 15, because in April, they didn't feel like it, or they were too stressed about it, and they file an extension. Now, it's a good idea to have a tax preparer if your tax situation is a little more complex than what you want to handle. That tax preparer can just be a professional preparer that you pay, or they may be certified in some way, like they're an accountant, they're a CPA, they're an enrolled agent or EA. Any of the above is okay. What you need to worry about is that they align with your values, that they understand you and your tax situation, whether it's your business, your personal, family situation, all of the things that go into your tax return. What's not a good idea is to postpone that conversation until April. Like I said, a lot of people don't really want to talk about this, so they just push it tomorrow, until tomorrow is April 15. So, oh my God, what do I do today? I will tell you that a good tax preparer is too busy to do your taxes in April, and a really busy tax preparer, you don't want them to do your taxes in April because they could be a little bit on the burnout side. So you would like them to have a clear mind. So it's not a good idea to wait until the last minute. Not saying that it can't happen, not saying that it may not be accurate, but I'm saying it's a higher probability of it not being accurate than it is, let's say, in March when not a whole lot of people go get their taxes done. So don't leave it for last minute, and talk to your tax expert a couple of times if you're unsure, if you don't know all the documents that you need, or if you have a complex tax situation and you want to make sure you don't miss anything. A lot of people use the shoebox method when they're dealing with their taxes. What's the shoebox method? Well, it's a box where they stick everything. And then at the end of the year, they don't know what to do with it because, oh my God, I have all of this, and now what? Now it's a pile of receipts, and I don't know, even if I need everything, and if I do need everything, what in the world am I going to do with it? So if you want to not be that person, if your New Year's resolution included not going to have a mess for my taxes next year, then let's look at a couple of methods to not do that. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And my favorite way for people dealing with taxes is, I hope I get a refund. I hope I get a refund. I hope I get a refund. Hoping is not a good tax planning strategy, okay? So we'll talk about getting refunds versus it's okay to not get a refund as we go along. Now, here are some questions for you to ask your tax professional, whoever they may be, whoever you decide to hire. So if you decide to hire a tax expert, think about hiring somebody that is not credentialed or somebody that is credentialed. Either way, there is no right or wrong about it, but you want to know about their experience. You definitely want to know how long they've been doing it. And if they're new in the business, it's okay. Just make sure that they have a good backup system and a good checks and balance system. So that way they can still do a good job for you. And I will say that a lot of times people that don't have a whole lot of experience are maybe more thorough because they want to make sure they do a good job for you. So it's not a wrong thing to hire somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience. Now, the more experience people have, obviously, the safer you're going to feel. So again, having somebody with experience is not a bad idea. But you want to know because you want to know what to expect. And what you want to also know, and what's even more important than the years of experience, is if they are familiar with whatever it is you're doing. So if it's somebody that does a lot of simple tax returns for people with W-2s and you have a complex situation, they may not be the right person for you. And if there's somebody that is familiar with, let's say, retail, but you're a service business, they may ask you questions that don't really pertain to you. So you want to make sure that they understand your type of situation, your type of business. Okay. And a good question to ask is, ask them if they know of anything that a lot of people maybe don't think about when they do their taxes. When I have conversations with people and I ask them a lot of questions about their business, I hear a lot of, oh, my previous tax person never asked me that. So don't get in that situation where your expert just takes everything you're saying and doesn't really go into more details. So make sure that they ask you a lot of questions about your business and that they understand the full picture. When you hire somebody that is credentialed, ask them also if you can meet with them before tax season, so that way you can plan better for the year. So don't wait on, now if you never met anybody and right now we are already in the middle of tax season, of course, then that's okay, but be prepared by the end of 2025 to have that conversation with your chosen expert, because that way your 2025 tax year can be better when you file the tax return. All right. And if you have somebody that handles your investments, it's a great idea for your financial people to communicate. So introduce your tax expert to your investment expert and have them talk about what's going on with your finances right there when you're in the room, first of all, you get to learn something. Secondly, they can help you plan better. And you can also ask your tax expert about different opportunities, different ways, different programs that you can keep track of your expenses so they're more accurate. And so it's easier for you and you don't have to go into 10 different places to track down what you spent your money on. All right, and here are some ideas for you. So for those of you that are more on the techie side, there are some apps that you can use. My favorite mile tracker is TripLog. I've used them for years, but there's also Mile IQ, Hurdler, MileageWise, and a few others. Even QuickBooks has a way to track mileage. So whatever feels the most intuitive for you, that would be the best choice for you. Just because somebody says, I love my mileage tracking app, doesn't mean you're going to love it too. So try a couple of them. Usually they cost something, they're not free, but that is not a problem. It's not a lot of money, but also it's great because it's accurate and it tracks everything where you don't have to worry about tracking it. Use them for their 14 days or 30 days or whatever or 7 days, whatever they give you for free, and see if you like it. And if you don't, move on to the next one and see which one you like best. And if you have a complex a complex accounting situation, if you have a lot of entries of money received as well as purchases that you make for your business, it can be a great idea to use an accounting system. QuickBooks is the one that's used mostly. They do have a simplified version if your business is not a humongous corporation. So you can check on that. Again, that's not free, but it can definitely help you keep track of it. And there are a lot of bookkeepers that will keep track of it for you. So if you don't want to handle it personally, you can hire one of them and they will use QuickBooks in your name, in your company. And then if for tax planning, Taxcaster is a great way to estimate what your tax results may be. And also it can help you plan for the following year. And then TurboTax or Tax Act can be ways for you to prepare your own taxes. And one thing I would suggest for a lot of entrepreneurs that get a bunch of receipts is to have some sort of a scanner where they can keep their receipts all on the computer. Of course, it helps with not having to carry around a bunch of papers if you're moving. It helps with not having to store boxes and boxes of papers. So that can be a great solution long-term. And you are, this is tip number 1 for the entrepreneurs, you are required to keep your receipts for 3 years. So that's why you want to make sure that you keep them in some kind of way. And of course, keeping them electronically takes a whole lot less space. Yes, Elena, go ahead.
So if you could go back to your previous slide.
Sure.
We talked about the trip log. Are you able to go back? And I'm asking this on this page so that,
no worries.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can we go back if we just now getting the trip log to put in our information? Do we have to probably do it manually, correct?
Like for January, or you mean for last year?
For last year, because we're doing last year. It would
be too much. Yeah, but it would be too much. So you, for your 2024 tax return, you would use whatever way that you've been tracking it. So if you were writing it down, like for me, for years, I just had one of those planners that are really tiny and have like 2 pages to the month with the little squares. And I would write every month how many miles I drove for each particular, every day how many miles I drove for each particular business, and then I would total the month. Okay. So whatever way, even if you did it just like that, you can just do it for 2024 And then starting in 2025, if you want to have January also, you can go and enter manually all of your January information, but you don't want to do that for a whole year because that's a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
And the way that these apps work is 1 year from whenever you sign up, then that's your payment, that's your membership, right? So you keep paying for the whole year, but it does run into the next and all that. So for instance, if you sign up now, you can do the rest of 24 and then in the rest of 25, and then in 26, you'll have your reports for 24 and then move from there.
Mhm.
What I like about TripLog is that I have several businesses that I'm tracking separately, and I can set it up that way. So
Yeah.
at the end of the year, I know business number one, I did this many miles. Business number two, I did this many miles. Personal, I did this much. Charity, I did this much. All of the categories. So you get to set up your own categories. I'm pretty sure the other ones let you set them up too, but they're each a little bit different in the way you set it up.
Well, I've used TripLog, and in the beginning I was using was it Mike? It was Outlook. They had, and I can't remember what other app that was connected, but the great thing about it that it automatically um would keep up with your miles. So that's what I like about using the mile trackers. The other thing, and I'm just asking these questions, guys, because sometimes people don't want to ask them, so I'm going to be the person that asks the questions today.
No problem. There's always my friend Mary that does it or doesn't do it or whatnot, right?
Right. So, and I know you suggested the different accounting softwares, but some folks are not familiar with using them. And so, what about? I think you mentioned in our meeting about using an Excel spreadsheet so that we could pass
You
that.
can. I mean, whatever works for everyone. I still to this day do the Excel spreadsheet because
I
my
do.
business is not that complex and it's just
Mhm.
me. But
Yeah.
it really depends on everybody's level of complexity.
Yeah.
Like I have different, in my Excel spreadsheet, I have my businesses separated. So it depends on what works for everybody because, again, no two businesses are 100% alike, right? So the more complex, like if you have employees, I have a client that has employees, that it's a whole different level of complexity. You don't want to do that on an Excel spreadsheet because it can get really complicated.
Yes.
And because it's a franchise, she also has to pay franchise fees that she needs to keep track of. And she also has to show them different reports, right? Because they want to know what you're doing because it's their brand on the line. So then you want something that can generate, like with the mileage tracker, right? Yeah, you can write every day on a piece of paper, well, preferably in a notebook so you have it all together, but you can just handwrite. I drove 27 miles today from this place to this place for a business meeting. And then tomorrow you write, I drove 39 miles today from this place to this place for the business and so forth. But do you really want to do that? Because if you just do one trip a day, it may be no big deal. But if you do 5 trips every day, at some point, you're not going to really want to do it. So it just depends on how complex your situation is. If you want to handle it manually, or if you want a version of AI, if you will, an app or some other kind of electronic thing that can handle it for you, right?
And the other thing that I use is my drone. I have a drone in my car. So
Okay.
it also keeps mileage and it keeps wherever I go. So I can always go back to that. You can also look into if you're using when we often use like the GPS. That's another place that we can see the miles. So those are some tips that you can use as well. And talk about receipts, well, TurboTax and so forth. That's for you guys to take care of. And I guess if those people who are using doing their own taxes, they can use that. But receipt scanner, if you don't have a scanner, remember we always have our cell phone, right? And we can use our cell phone
Oh
to,
yeah, there are apps that are scanners also, so you can download an app on your phone and then that's your scanner. You don't have to buy a sophisticated piece of equipment. But again, it all boils down to the complexity, right? Because if you have one receipt a day, it's no big deal to take a picture with your phone. But if you have a big business where you have 10 employees and they each give you 3 receipts every day, you don't want to stay and take pictures. You want to dump it all in one thing that kind of goes through boom, 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 and scans everything. And all you have to do is drop it one time. So everything depends on how complex. You can do it from the most basic manual, you handle everything, and it really costs you next to nothing, to high tech where you have all sorts of gadgets and all sorts of electronic apps and so forth that do it for you. But you don't have to spend everything as you get set up in your business. Also, your business will grow and will pivot and will change from one year to the next. So you can always upgrade all of this. For years, I was writing my mileage down. But then for the last probably 12 years or so, I've been using TripLog. So it's okay, you know, but I've been in business since 20 years ago. Actually, this is my 20-year anniversary. I started in March of 2020 in life insurance, and that was self-employment. So, you know, I did it manually and not so sophisticatedly for a lot of years. And then certain things I transitioned into stuff that I didn't want to invest my time in, like writing down all my mileage, and stuff that I'm still doing the same way, like keeping track of everything on Excel spreadsheet. So it's fine either way. There's no right or wrong. It just what's easiest for you, what's the most intuitive for you, what works best. And my one thing that I want everybody to remember, if you don't remember anything I said, just remember this: whatever you do, whatever system you're using, it has to be sustainable. Don't try to implement 100 things and you do them for 2 weeks and then, oh my God, this is too much, I can't do it. Do one little thing. If you feel you need to improve in one area, okay, change one thing and then make sure you maintain that before you start making other changes. Or if everything works, don't change anything because it is sustainable just the way it is. Just pay attention and make sure you more diligently do it. But whatever works for you, you have to keep doing it. You can't just do it one time or 1 week or 1 month. It's not enough. It has to be an all the time kind of thing.
Thank you, Rana.
You're welcome. Any other questions before we go to the next slide, Helena? Or Lavera, if you have any questions, obviously, you're more than welcome to ask.
Not at this time.
All righty. Moving along. So, as I was saying, the first tip out of the 7 that we're going to talk about today is to make sure you keep all of your receipts. Now, if you file on time, 3 years means from April 15 of that year when the tax return was due, the IRS can come knocking on your door, not literally, they send you a letter actually, and asking for proof of whatever claims that you have on your tax return, whatever deductions. So you have to have it for 3 years. Now, if you're having some challenges with filing your taxes and decide not to file your 2024 taxes until 2026, then the 3 years starts from whenever you file. So don't think 3 years from 24 means 3 years from 24, therefore it's 27. It means 3 years from whenever you filed or whenever the tax return was due, whichever is later. Okay. And a lot of people say, oh, I have a business credit card, and so all of my business expenses are through this credit card. Well, the IRS says that credit card statements are not proof. It's not good enough proof that you spend that money on whatever you say. And here's why. Let's say you are a you have a remodeling business, maintenance business, or home improvement or something like that. And you go to Home Depots or Lowe's or sometimes maybe Walmart to buy stuff that you use in your business. Well, just because your credit card says Home Depot or says Lowe's, it doesn't mean it's a business expense. Because maybe you went to Home Depot to buy something for your home, or maybe your wife took the card for purchase of, I don't know, house plants or something, but something that has no connection with your business. So you cannot use just a credit card statement. And let's not even go into Walmart, because a lot of people buy stuff from Walmart or Costco or the big stores that send you sell stuff in bulk. Well, there's no way without the receipt to show that that was a business purchase. Okay, so don't count on your bank statement or credit card statements because they don't show your business expenses. And I will say, just personally, I would not do somebody's tax return that brings me a bunch of bank statements. Now, what I would do is ask them to total it out and give me the totals, because then that takes off the responsibility from me and puts it on them. But do you really want to take that burden on yourself where you didn't keep track of it and now you're claiming deductions, and then the IRS can come to you and say, no, we're not accepting this? And even if they're not coming, do you want to be stressed for 3 years wondering if they will come? So if you don't want that kind of stress, the best recipe against that is to make sure that you keep good records and keep your receipts. Okay. And tip number 3, saying I drove about 10,000 miles is not good enough. Okay. Nobody's going to spend $1,000 on something when it's multiple purchases, or nobody's going to drive 10,000 miles or 20,000 miles. It's going to be some different number. Okay. 10,000 can mean 9,792, or it can mean 10,264. It's not 10,000. So that's why you want to keep track, because you want accurate numbers. I can't even tell you how many people say, oh yeah, I ate out, I spent $5,000. What are the chances that if you go out and eat, you spend exactly $5,000? Now, if you buy a computer, maybe you spend 10,000 even, but even with that, chances are pretty slim. But if it's one piece of whatever equipment or one purchase of whatever it is, maybe it's a round number. But if it's multiples, most times will not be a round number. So don't give an approximate amount. Do the work and keep track. All right. Another important thing for entrepreneurs to consider is protection for yourself and your key employees. So you want to make sure that you have life insurance in place, you have business insurance in place, and also protect the people that are bringing you the money. Because it's very important that if something happens to one of them, the business keeps going. And if you want to keep your employees happy, think about helping them save for retirement, because that's also very, very important. Especially nowadays, Uncle Sam is realizing that retirement is a big problem, because a lot of the people that are nearing retirement are not ready to exit. So us that are not so near, we need to make sure we plan so we can exit when the time comes. And when you start your business, it may not feel like something you want to think about, or even as you're looking to grow your business, it may not feel like something you need to plan for. But having an exit strategy in place is one of the most important financial decisions that you can do in your business. Now, if you have a child and you think your child is going to take over the business, great. That's not always the best strategy, and that's not always an available strategy. So if that is the case, make sure your child agrees, and also put steps in place for that to happen, because you don't want to say, oh, I want to retire next month, or I want to retire next year, or my husband is retiring in July, so now I would like to be retired because I don't want him staying home while I go to work. You need to plan for that. And the more time you give yourself, the better you can plan. All right. And now, if you have any questions about any of these things, if any of this sound like weird language, sounds like complicated math stuff you have to consider, don't worry about it. Talk to a professional. In fact, talk to multiple professionals, because the more people you interview about the opportunity to get help for yourself and your business, the better help you're going to get. And make sure their values align with your values, and make sure that they understand your business. make sure they understand what your wishes and desires are so they can help you accordingly. All right, ladies, any questions about this?
No, it sounds good.
All right, Helena, my friend Mary has any questions? No?
No, I'm all good. Thank you.
All right. All right, so for those of you that want to learn more about business, about money, here are some of the books that I wrote or collaborated in. And also, please feel free to check my YouTube channel at Unbroke Women. It's a great place to watch some money videos, learn about some money mindset things and some money strategies. And please subscribe if you find that it is beneficial for you, if you find value in what you're learning. Do me a favor and help me grow it by subscribing. And if you want to learn more, if you want to talk more about money, I will do another tax masterclass. That's most likely going to be the last one during tax season. We may do another one later in the year, but I am scheduling one for March 13th, also over lunch. And then I do have a financial adulting workshop, which is for young adults that want to learn the basics of money on February 20th, also on Zoom. And the tickets are available on Eventbrite for that. And I have an in-person event coming up next week. That's Wine, Women, and Wealth on February 12th. And we will meet at Total Wine in Short Pump at 5:30 for a little bit of networking. And at 6 o'clock, we're going to start talking about money. So if you want to meet some great ladies from the Richmond area, if you want to learn about money, have some money conversations, come join us. And if you want to learn about money from the comfort of your home, you have a Money 101 available on February 24th at 7 p.m. So anybody that's interested, please reach out and I will share registration information. All of these events are free. The only thing that we require is that people register so we can prepare accordingly. But other than that, everybody's welcome to just come and learn.
Excuse me,
And
the Wine, Women, and Wealth, which
Yeah.
Total Wine is that location?
the one in Short Pump,
Okay,
it's on
thank you.
Pump Road.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop the screen share so that way I can see you ladies. And let me know if you have any questions.
No questions. Thank you so much for putting on this class. I think a lot of folks probably may have forgotten about it because you say you had a couple. I know the last time we talked, you said you had a few people that had registered, right? Yeah.
Yes, I did. So I'm gonna reach out and find out. They didn't reach out to let me know they weren't coming. So I'll make sure I reach out and see what is going on.
Yeah. And remember, ladies, the last Friday of the month we do our luncheon. So the